Mr. President, a U.S. judge temporarily blocks the birthright citizenship order. Do you have any reaction?
No, obviously we'll appeal it. They put it before a certain judge in Seattle, I guess, right? And there's no surprises with that judge.
Even though Trump's executive order materially altering birthright citizenship was blocked by a federal court, Trump's effort to essentially end birthright citizenship is going to plan. There's no way he thought the executive order he signed was going to fundamentally change well-established rules for birthright citizenship without going to court. His team also knew it would be blocked at the federal district court level and probably the next appellate level.
We wanted the ACLU and these 22 states. Why? So that we can get it into the Supreme Court of the United States.
The play all along to enact this departure from settled law pertaining to birthright citizenship as contemplated by the 14th Amendment was to kick this up to the Supreme Court and have them rule in his favor. The ultimate ask would be for them to just rubber stamp his executive order. The lesser but probably almost as good win would be for the Supreme Court to offer guidance as to how a comparable executive action could be taken and be within their interpretation of what is constitutionally acceptable. And yet a lesser ruling that would not quite amount to a win but still give Trump daylight would be guidance and permission for Congress to pass a law accomplishing Trump's goal and still magically adhere to the 14th Amendment, under their interpretation, of course. In the event that the Supreme Court just shuts him down on this by either not taking the case at all and letting a lower court ruling against Trump stand, taking the case and ruling against Trump based on established law under the 14th Amendment, and not leaving any wiggle room aside from the prospect of another amendment to the Constitution, the Trump administration could still cause a lot of chaos by simply ignoring the court and doing what it wants to do with immigration issues, as the executive branch controls all administrative issues related to immigration. Of course, this could spark endless lawsuits, and while the courts could rule that an individual is entitled to citizenship, it becomes unclear how they could force federal agencies under the executive branch to issue related papers if the president orders them otherwise. Trump could very easily create what is called a constitutional crisis if he decides he doesn't want to adhere to the courts. In that case, the only recourse would be the impeachment process in Congress. Of course, one would think if the president were to cause a massive administrative disaster while ignoring the 14th Amendment and the findings of the judiciary branch, Congress would have no choice but to impeach and convict Trump. However, considering how congressional Republicans have reacted to Trump's activities in the past, as well as the requirement of conviction being a 2/3 vote of the Senate, it is anyone's guess as to what would happen. If the Supreme Court doesn't facilitate what Trump wants in this instance, and Trump doesn't care to embroil himself in a constitutional crisis over it, the act of issuing the executive order in the first place could just stand as a political bone he threw his supporters, and he may just leave it at that.